bottom on bottom, a great poet said this once. I got trauma. You're so sick. All because you wanted to get for an hour. Ooh. Diva. We call that the gay audacity. Welcome to the Poison Touch Advice Hour, the podcast where Ticketmaster and insanely high prices give you the best and worst advice to deal with all of life's predicaments. Y'all, I am trying to not say welcome back at the beginning of every podcast because I'm like, well, this could be your first episode, And I want to make sure that this could be anyone's first episode. So we're no more welcome backs, just welcome. My guest today is Nigel Battle, the season 2 winner of Daddy TV's For the Love of DILFs, a podcaster, a YouTuber, host of the new He Loves Me Not podcast, and all around baddie. Nigel, how you doing?
Oh my gosh. Amazing now that we're back together chatting. I left the DILFs podcast wanting to do this. So it's been a long time coming. I'm so excited.
Oh yes, I'm so happy to have you here. You are now a proud Chicagoan, just like me, the New Jersey to Chicago pipeline.
Yep, a lot has changed since our last conversation, for sure.
Oh yes. Let's talk a little bit about DILFs, just for people who may not be familiar with your work. You were on last season where you wore your heart on your sleeve for all to see. A very bold choice.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people resonated well with it, even when you were, at times being like a little like, oh. In your words, what do you see looking back on that? And what do you feel like you've learned from that experience?
Oh my goodness. My emotional legacy. One of the best parts about being there and being part of the whole experience is going in with the intentions that I was going to do that, to be nothing but myself and be true and authentic. And if it's all tears, it's all tears. If it's all getting mad, it's all getting mad. I really went in not knowing what version of myself people were gonna get. So I love it. I think there's so many versions of me. But what was portrayed and what was filmed and caught for the things that I went through, I'm very proud of. And living post-show life and speaking to people after watching the show, that turned out to be people's favorite part. It is my emotional and vulnerability on that show. And for there to be so many jokes, so much drama, so many plot lines, so much going on, and for their favorite part to be just people say the way I spoke, the way I opened up, the way I did things. Yeah, so
I still
it's a
to this
lot.
day, I still quote, and what I saw was not what I wanted to see. I think about that all the time. Oh, if y'all have not seen season 2 of For the Love of DILFs, you need to go back and watch it because it is peak reality TV. Season 3 was great, don't get me wrong, but I still think
Yeah.
season 2 is my favorite. It had like such a great cast of people.
Yeah.
And there were some standout moments there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, season 3 was amazing. They both had, I did a lot of comparisons and analyzations of the two, and they both have something very special about them. It's different but special, but in their own way.
100%. Yeah. They give a different same genre, different flavor. You know what I mean? Like you can watch both seasons and see the ways that they are so different just in cast members alone.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. I was so impressed with their stories and how I got to know the cast members on season 3. They did a great job. And of course, production has a lot to do with that. Daddy TV is so good about being like, are you good with this? Like there is no, oh my gosh, I can't believe they put that out there. There's a lot of communication and a lot of trust. So congratulations to them. It was a beautiful season. And I loved sitting back and not being part of eliminations. I was chilling. Because remember, I was a fan from season 1. So the whole journey started me just loving reality TV. Season 1 was one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite shows. Even having being on it, it's just my favorite show. So I finally got to go back to just being a viewer, and it was everything.
It's beautiful, especially now having that that experience behind you. You're like, all right, great.
Yeah, I loved it.
I've been wanting you on the pod for a minute, but the scheduling, I schedule pretty far in advance. So I'm always like, it just never shaked out. However, I always thought you'd be such a good person to have on because I feel like you're a foil to myself because you are so emotionally vulnerable, whereas I
Yeah.
feel like I'm very pragmatic about things. And
Uh-huh.
I think that will shake up very nicely in the advice because
Yeah.
you'll be able to, come at it a little more emotionally, whereas I'm like, let's think about the facts here. You know what I mean? And I think
Yeah, yeah.
people can use both of those together to really kind of figure out what they need to do in these situations.
Yeah.
Also, you're a YouTuber and you have things to promote, and that's always great. I love that synergy. And you just started He Loves Me Not. Let's talk about that for a little bit before we get into the advice.
Yes. Oh my gosh, my little creative child that I just gave birth to. I love my He Loves Me Not podcast. I coming off of the show, and I started doing YouTube in 2020, so we just hit my 5 year creator YouTube.
Congrats.
Yes, thank you. So at this point in the journey, when I first started, I did a lot of like what you would call like trend hopping. Like if a movie's coming out, I'm talking about it. If there's a new song, I'm talking about it because you always want to be up to par with what's trending on Twitter or what's going on like in the world in general. And I remember a lot of creators and people telling me along the way, like I would every now and then post a video, like a vlog about my life or something with to do with me. And people would always say, like, oh, that's not the time for that. Like, once you have a following and you have people who care about, what you do or what you say, that's when you can do, like, kind of go at your own speed and do what you want to do content wise. So I feel so grateful to kind of finally be at that point where I've built up a nice following between my own YouTubing and as well from For the Love of DILFs. And with that being said, and the number one interest kind of being my heart and some of the things I did on the show, the podcast felt like a great way to not only talk about dating and love and sex advice in general, but to start the way have started the episodes is kind of going through my love lives and the things that I've experienced and how I got to some of the reactions and the things you see on DILFs. So it's all very connected, and it feels good that it came at this time because I've never gotten a chance to do something so personal before, but now is the right time because so many people are interested,
Yeah.
and I have no problem sharing. So
Yeah. I think it's really beautiful to be able to like look on past relationships and past loves and like see how they've shaped you and how they've changed you and talk about them, and not even in a way of like fuck that person, but like just
yeah,
being like this led me to be the person that I am today. And I think that's
yes,
kind of what you do. And I
yes.
really it's go listen to He Loves Me Not.
Thank
um
you.
but yeah, that's similar. You're giving advice on there, we give advice on here. It's a little bit of a
Yeah.
give and take. It felt like this felt like truly the right time to have you on.
Thank you.
So
Yeah, no, it feels right. It feels right. I'm excited for everyone to listen to it and get to know it. It's very personal, so it's exciting to get on that level. And from the people, my friends who have heard it, it's exactly that. It's not to trash anyone. It's not to because we'll eventually get to Rico and everything on there too. And everything's always to be told from my point of view and for
mhm.
me. And as far as the other past relationships, I've been telling people, it just feels like my NDA is up. It was never made for the first two relationships that I have, but it's just been so long, and I feel open to talk about it, and people are interested. So it's kind of like, let me explain why I'm that way. And a lot of people have already seen episode 1 and 2. Who don't know me at all and have watched DILFs, they're like, okay, now episode 5 makes a lot more sense if you realize
Yeah.
there's patterns in my life that I've been through, and that all comes out on the show. So
I watched episode 1. I had taken an edible that night, and I like it popped up. The notification popped up. I said, "Okay, I'm gonna watch this." I
yes,
was
thank
so
you.
high. I felt like I was in the prom house with you. Because I remember my prom house. I don't. For those of you who are not from New Jersey, after prom, you go to the shore. It's just what
Yes,
happens, right? And
yes,
you scrape together what little money you got, you rent out a little house, or you go to
yep,
someone who has like a beach house or something, you figure it out. So
yes,
I'm like, I'm reliving my own experiences while you're telling your story. Like I felt like I was there. I felt like I knew
yes.
this. I knew this was, so I really had a great time with episode 1 for sure.
Oh, good. Thank you. When I made it, I literally in my head, I was like, I want this to be like, because I tell that story so often with my friends that I wanted it to just feel like a natural flowing, like you're there. Exactly. So I'm glad. Thank you for that review.
And that's what it felt like.
Good, good.
Let's get real personal with some of these people though. We're going to take a
Yes,
quick break and we'll be back with the advice.
yes.
We're back from our break and we are here to get into the mess, to get into the drama. It's almost Valentine's Day. By the time this episode will come out, it will already be past Valentine's Day. We're
Yes.
here to talk about love. We're here to talk about sex and some other things along the way.
Yes.
We're going to start off with this first question today. This is from Dom Yes. It's a sex and love question. And they write, I don't feel comfortable with anal sex or more so with the penetration. Even when I do and I receive it, I'm a side, obviously, but my partner is a versatile slash bottom. I don't know how to try other ways other than the traditional method to have sex between us. Do you have any advice? Thank you. We've talked about being a side on this podcast quite often. I am a proud proponent of side rights. I'm trying to think of which episode it was. It was a couple episodes ago. Someone had asked a similar question about penetration.
Mhm.
Are you familiar with the side lifestyle?
I'm familiar with not being with them because I do like a little bit more.
You
So
need the penetration.
right, yes, but exactly, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I would love to hear from a side as to like how they got there or why they would do that. But
See, I do not identify as a side. However, I know many sides. They are my sistrins. They are my brethren. They are my kindred spirits.
I love it.
There are times when um, we don't got time for all that. You know,
Right.
it's a lot of work going into
Yeah.
that on either side, honestly.
Hmm.
And sometimes I don't want all that. Sometimes we want to lean into the foreplay of it all.
Right.
Sometimes we want something not so demanding as penetration. And to you, Dom, yes, if your partner is versatile or more of a bottom and you're trying to find ways to have sex that don't rely fully on penetration, I think, there's lots of ways you can go. There's toys,
Yeah.
there's oral, love some ass eating.
Hmm.
There's like so much that you can do between foreplay and other things
Hmm.
that I feel like you can get it. And this is another thing. I want us. We need to divorce ourselves from the need that like we're gonna have sex. We're both gonna come. That's gonna be it. Because you could. There are times, especially in the side lifestyle, where you play around for a bit, you take a break, you get back to it. You maybe and then after a while you're like, this was great, and I actually don't need to come.
Yeah.
Or one of you comes, the other one's like, that was fantastic. I'm glad you came, and now I'm kind of tired, so I don't want to. I don't need to. And I
Yeah.
think that's perfectly fine. And so
Yeah.
I think it's more about opening up your mind in terms of what sex looks like.
Yeah. I agree. Dom, yes, I would say heavy on the exploration and really take that and run with it. Because if you're already going to establish yourself as a side, it's already kind of putting you in a box. So already try to break out of that by seeing, okay, like we already know that sex leads to an orgasm, but what else can, I guess, is the
Oh
big
yeah.
question. And say that in the mirror and say it for you. So it's a moment to really think about what you need to get off and what makes you excited. And it's a moment to take aside from your partner. So self exploration and dig deep. There's a lot of kinks out there. So there's the more than toys and role plays. There's so much. So explore and truly find what your thing is and just dive into it, you know?
Yeah, I think being open, especially with your partner about things that you could be into. For me, I never doubt the power of a mutual jerk off session, just making out and just jerking. I hate it is so understated,
Yeah,
just get into it, hold each other, make out with each other. It brings you so close.
yeah.
Um, if your partner needs a finger up there or something, you can still do it without getting into the full penetration of it, but you're still like engaging the prostate and you're still
Oh my God.
giving it. There are ways to do it. And I think for me, that is like a very uh, good way to be close together. It's very intimate without necessarily being
That's
penetrative.
that's so like bro-ish. Like
I know it can be very broish, and at the same time, it can be like just the most beautiful gayest thing, especially when you're like making out the entire time.
I think I'm underestimating the power of that session, and I almost
I
feel
think
like
you
I
are.
I just yeah, I am because I think I do too much. I do too much, and I should dial back and have a nice mutual jerk off session. I love that.
Yeah, because sometimes there are times truly I don't want to top, I don't want to bottom. I just don't want to do any of
Yeah.
that. I maybe want to suck some dick, and then we can kiss for a while and just jerk off.
Yeah.
And I feel like ever since I started doing that a little more, I started enjoying it so much. So
Yeah.
Dom, yes, I think I would recommend this for sure. Even just to start, you know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
want to explore with other things after that, but to start, I think don't underestimate the power of a mutual jerk off sesh.
There you go. That's what better advice. That's an actual thing to start with. So that I hope that helps him.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, let us know how it goes. Let us know how it goes. The DMs are open if you'd like to send photos and videos.
Oh my
If the
goodness.
OnlyFans is there, you know, feel free to drop in. We'll promote it.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
Dom, yes, let us know how it goes. Always send an update. We would love to hear back.
Yeah. And have
Um,
fun. Enjoy.
and have fun because that's really what it's about. If you can't laugh while
Exactly.
you're having sex and have a little fun while you're having sex, if it comes off so serious to you, you're not doing something right. You're like being
Yeah.
intimate with someone close to you. You should be able to giggle and laugh and have a good time with it, you know?
Yeah. I
Don't
agree. I
don't take it
agree.
too seriously.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Moving up next, we've got Scooter. This is another sex and love question. I expected a
Yeah.
lot of the February questions to be sex and love just because of the nature of the month.
Yeah, I mean, we're right on
Um,
theme here with this whole the
yeah,
guest, the
yeah,
nature, everything's we're good.
exactly. And so the girls did not disappoint because there's a lot of it's a lot of hookups, it's a lot of stuff like that today.
Yes.
So the girls came through with what I thought would happen in February. You know, it's like
Beautiful.
around New Year's we get more like family stuff. You know,
Yeah.
Christmas we get family stuff. It's really around February, and
I
especially when
love it.
spring hits,
Um,
when the spring fever comes through, when the girls are feeling hot and
yes.
heavy.
Girls are fertile.
Yes, that's when instead of general advice, I just see sex and love, sex and love, sex and love.
I love it. Oh, I love it. I'll be back for more then when everyone's
Oh
in heat.
yes. Oh yeah, yeah. When the girls are in heat, yeah, especially in Chicago summer.
Yeah, if I'm not out
Woo!
on the streets myself, I'll be in here filming the podcast.
This next one is from Scooter. It's another sex and love question.
Hmm.
They write, I hooked up with someone a couple months ago and I thought we could be friends with benefits. Turns out they just want to be friends. A part of me is okay with it and the other part feels used. Have either of you experienced this?
Ugh,
Would you like to start?
I so when I first heard that this was going to be a question, it was very triggering because I'll be honest, and this is real tea, real life. I recently, 'cause I've been dating, you know, and new it is new in Chicago, single, living my best life. I definitely make it a point to hook up, love to hook up, very kinky, but I also make it a point to categorize certain guys for dates. I did go on a date with someone recently who straight up like the next day was like, I'm good. And kind of just like passed on me. Not exactly the same situation, but my advice for myself and both then for this person would definitely be to again like just real heavy on the self-reflection and like always keep in mind that you're not going to be for everybody, and that was good for me to it was a nice like little wake up call, you know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? Because I kind of got used to like getting what I want in a dating world, but every now and then you might not be someone's cup of tea, and that's okay. Like in the same way, if someone's not for me, I have the right to speak up and be like, "You're not. I'm good." You know what I mean? Like,
You know, I've said it before. You could be the juiciest, hairiest peach in the world. It's always going to be somebody allergic to peaches. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. Yeah, it hurts. It hurts, but you know, you never want to be with someone who's not into you. That's also something I've learned being in this
100%,
life and in this body. And that
100%.
is why in that moment when I got that text, it hurt. I was bummed, but it was quick because I want someone who's all over me. Like you should be, I want obsession. I'm crazy. Like I want you to be like love every part of me, inside and out, everything. So if it's not that, you can keep it. So the minute he was like, "Oh, I'm not sure if this is right," it's like, if you're not sure, you're good. Bye."
Yeah, if you're not
Like,
sure, it's okay.
yeah, I'm
You know,
good.
this is a personal question. Actually, I am curious. What's your like top love language?
Oh my gosh. It's really it's weird because I feel like it changes like if it's us like a sexual encounter and a hookup, it's one thing, honestly, and it's a whole like different version of me versus the person who's like dating and looking for something like a little bit more serious. So
Hmm.
what I require is like depending on what I'm looking for, like from the guy.
Gotcha,
Uh
gotcha, gotcha.
yeah, and I would like they're almost like opposite. Like I could be like I'm like a very great cuddly, like loving boyfriend. But I would say like in the sexual like hookup world, like the top love language, like I get everything and you get nothing. Like I love the dom sub community within like sex. So it's very like I would never be like dominant and mean in a relationship, only like in the bedroom. So it changes depending
Got
on what we're
you.
doing and who it's with type thing. So
So you're all about the aftercare outside of the bedroom.
if they are deserving of it.
Oh. Well, Scooter, I have this to say. I realized this as I was reading this question. This has come up with actually pretty recently with a couple of friends. Turns out they just want to be friends. That thing right there. And I think a lot of people often will default to this when they're trying to let someone down easy and they like don't want to outright reject them. It's like, oh, we can be friends. And I think it's up to us to decide whether or not this person can actually be a good friend. The other day, one of my girlfriends, she was like, went on a date and then friend zoned the guy, and I was like, but she said that they had nothing in common, and the guy was like getting over his ex or whatever. I was
Mhm.
like, why did you even friend zone him? You don't want to be his friend. I was like,
Right.
we're not in the market for new friends. Our friend group is
Right.
right. We're good.
Like if it's not working, just go. Like
Yeah. So I was like, you don't have to put in the effort to even try to be this guy's friend. I mean, like,
yeah,
you don't want to be his friend. So why did you tell
yeah,
him that? And I
yeah,
think, Scooter, this is also the same thing. This person says they want to be your friend. This is where you have to go. Does this person actually want to be my friend, or were they just trying to was it just like a one and done? And that's okay because not every hookup has to be like a multiple time thing. Sometimes some people we fuck once,
yeah,
even if it's great, and we just don't go back and do it again, and that's okay.
yeah.
I think you gotta organize your rotation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's those one night stands. Then there's the people that you hook up with a couple of times.
Yes.
Then there's like the friends with benefits who you like you hook up, and then occasionally maybe y'all go out to eat, or maybe you go out to the club and you have a good time. And those are the people that maybe some of your friends know them. You know what I mean? Like the
Yes.
circles are a little more mixed. So yeah, I think it would behoove not just you, Scooter, but everyone to kind of organize their not me the Virgo being like, you need to
Yeah.
organize your hookups actually. But yeah,
Yes.
you need to tertiary, secondary, those
Yeah.
think of them that way. And this person was someone that was just like a one night stand. And I don't think that's a reflection on you per se or even on the
Yeah.
hookup itself. I think it's just not everyone is meant to stick around like that.
Yeah. And if you honestly, if you do what you're saying and set up those subcategories, what that does is keep you from getting hurt. You know what I mean? If you're just sleeping around with option A and you know that's all option A is good for, you won't get hurt. And if you know, so I agree. I would do the listings. Shoot, break it down and know who's
100%.
for what. Yeah.
It
I don't know
has
if I would
helped
do
me
that
out
many
a lot.
categories, but
I like to think of it, you ever see like in the planetarium, there's like the sun. Think of yourself as the sun, and then there's like the planets around you, and then each of those planets has
yes.
like a moon, like break it down. That's why
I agree.
it's called the rotation, because
Listen.
it's like an earthly rotation.
Yes. Galaxy of
Yeah,
Love.
exactly. The galaxy of love. Yeah, and sometimes those galaxies have black holes.
Oh,
You know,
never ending. Don't fall in.
don't fall in, girl. You'll never get out. Um, but yeah, I think what you said was also correct. It helps you from getting hurt,
Yeah,
and sometimes getting hurt is a good thing. It teaches us stuff for sure. You know what I mean? But I do think if you go in with a certain set of expectations from certain people,
yeah,
then it doesn't matter necessarily whether they meet those expectations or not. Some
yeah,
people you really are just meant to hook up once, boom, and then if the hookup was good, and y'all cross paths again, sure, why not? But I think
yeah.
especially with like hookup apps like Grinder and Sniffies and things like that, a lot of those do tend to just be one night kind of stand type things.
Yes. Well, that's what I love about all the various different apps and the non kind of like non said rules. Like, and that being like, if you come from Sniffies, like, you know what you're for and what you'll be used for.
Oh
Like, please
yeah.
don't ask for much. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
versus, yeah, there's an option we can grab a bite if I met you on Grinder. But if I met you on Sniffy, you know what I mean? Like, you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like there's unsaid rules, and it's nice because at least we have the apps to kind of divide up and create those original subcategories, at least to start with, you know?
100%. I don't think anyone on Sniffies is like, let's go down to like Clark Dog and grab something quick to eat before we get into it. You know what I mean?
No, it hasn't happened yet. I mean, I've had some bold ones ask some things that were non-sexual, but for the most part, it's like everyone's there for one thing, which is nice sometimes, you
Well,
know?
yeah, exactly, that's I'm not on it, but a lot of my friends are, because I'm currently all booed up, but
Yes, we love that.
the girls, they love to show me the map. I think it's so fun. I like when they go to like the community tab and people are like
Yes.
treating it like a message board.
Oh yes. I'm frequently on the message board. I post on there
I think
and
that shit is great. I love seeing that.
yes.
It's so fun.
I'm like the mayor of Sniffies. I'm all up in
I'm
there.
screaming. My friends love sending me the ones specifically from Steamworks where it's like,
Yes.
like someone shit in the hot tub. Or,
I remember that I was not there that day, but I remember that day on seeing that on Sniffies. That's
Yeah,
so
like
funny.
watch out. There's a guy. He's running around. He's painting everyone. Like leave
Yeah.
now.
Yep, that was October.
Or people being like, "Does anyone want to pay for my entry?" And the other people are like, "No, broke ass." Like, it is so funny to me. It just it brings me back to like the town crier center of
Yeah,
of
yeah.
town.
No, the
Yelling the
girls are
news.
vocal. They're
I
vocal
love.
and they're honest too. Everyone's out for what they want on there. So it's
Oh
like it's a
yes.
vicious sexual community. It's hot.
Yeah. So Scooter, get on the sniffies, and then you can only find that there you'll find the one night people, and then on Grinder maybe you'll find one thing. On Tinder or Bumble, you might find the people that maybe grab
Yes.
grab a coffee with them first, hook up with them later, get
Hmm.
to work out that type of thing. But I think it all comes
Yes.
down to the organization and figuring out the expectations.
Agreed. Yeah. You have to put time into it. That's what people don't realize when you're single and you're really truly looking for the one and trying to also keep up with your own orgasms and be like excited sexually. It's work. Like I have to take time for myself and take time to get to know other people. If I'm ever going to settle down with someone, I have to take the time to get to know them, which means I have to take time away from myself, which is hard, you
It's
know?
difficult. It's difficult.
Yeah.
And make sure, Scooter, for sure, don't get too caught up in the hookups of it all. Make sure you're still exactly carving time out for yourself, spending time with
Looking.
your
Yep.
friends, spending
Yeah.
time doing other things. I feel like a lot of people can get so absorbed into just
Yes.
like the constant cycle of like hooking up and hooking up and hooking up to the point where
Yeah.
like grinder becomes everything to them. And it's like it's not that serious.
Yeah.
It's never that serious.
Keep a balance. Keep a healthy balance.
Yeah.
My favorite advice that I do myself.
If a
So,
Mario was here, he would say respect the balance. It'd be a substance reference, but
he would not.
he loves making a substance reference. This is his favorite thing to do. I had to shout him out. He's gonna listen to this and he's gonna hear it. But respect the balance.
He's
Exactly.
trouble. That boy is trouble.
Oh yes, ma'am. All right, Scooter, keep us updated. If
Yes.
there's anything that you like left out, because they say I thought we could be friends with benefits, and to me, is that like something that you went in thinking, or is it something that they were saying? Maybe because if they were like giving you all these things about like, oh, we can be this, we can be that, and
Mhm.
then pulled out afterwards, that the advice kind of changes a little bit, and then that's more
Yeah.
about dealing with rejection than anything else.
Hmm.
But yeah, feel free to write back in with either clarifying statements. I like a long story. I like when the people give lots of information.
Hmm.
So write
Detail.
in with that, or if that's not the case, then just give us a little update. But
Hmm.
that's we'll leave you, Scooter. Good luck. We are going to move ahead because we talked about something earlier in the Scooter advice that I think actually relates pretty well to sticky friendship. So we're gonna move to that one.
Okay.
This is from Sticky Friendship. It's a general advice question. And they write, this is a kind of a long one, so buckle down.
Mhm.
They write, pretext for the scenario. I have pretty severe unmedicated anxiety and often cannot trust my own intuition. Medication isn't financially feasible, but that's outside the point. The way I manage my own mental health is by over communication with the people that I love and trust. I really rely on my friends to be upfront and honest with me. You can kind of see where this is going. Well, I have a friendship that occasionally dips into flirty/sexual territory, as gay people often do. There's no romantic feelings and no pursuits, it's purely fun. This friend is someone I trust more than anyone else and is very familiar with my communication needs. Here's the rub. Recently, anytime we veered a little bit maybe flirty, the vibes feel off. Given my anxiety, I do consent check ins and am met with, quote unquote, I jerked off earlier today, so I'm not horny, or I haven't been feeling sexual, etc. All acceptable responses, and he would still encourage the flirty energy even if he wasn't up to reciprocate. However, things stayed like this. So again, I communicated and pressed the issue. He replies, I just don't really flirt with friends, and you're just too good of a friend to me. But that's a lie. He flirts with many of his friends and hooks up with them. He's even told me before he dislikes hooking up with strangers and would rather hook up with people he's comfortable with. With that in mind, the best I can figure is that he's not into me and didn't want to hurt my feelings, which is fine. Not everyone can be attracted to you, nor would I want someone feeling pressured into pretending so. However, it hurts from a vain gay perspective of wanting to be hot enough. But all in all, I'm not upset that he's not into me. However, I still feel lied to. I gave so many opportunities and consent check ins when I could feel the energy shifting, and he gave me green lights every time. He knows how much I value honest communication, and I feel like I was taken advantage of in service of feeding his ego. I feel like he lied so I can continue giving him validation. I feel like I've been made a fool because I would have never paid flirty energy if he wasn't interested. We've been friends for 2 years, and I feel like I've got downgraded into simp status. We haven't spoken since I pressed him. We were really great friends and talked every day, so I miss his presence. I'm sure in his mind he thinks I'm mad at him for not being interested in me, but I just feel lied and manipulated to into this one-sided flirtation for so long. It feels like a stupid reason to end a relationship with my best friend, but it feels like we're at an impasse and I don't know what to do. So you see why I kind of chose this one to go next, because it kind of
Yeah.
relates in terms of like the flirty energy and then how it
Yeah.
changes. And it just felt like a good one to put after this, actually.
Yeah.
There's a lot to dig into here. So if we need to reread parts of it, we can. But
Mhm.
what do you think about this whole situation?
I think my initial thoughts are always, it's all along that theme of like you have to really trust your gut out here. So if you're asking if you think he's in the wrong, or if he's not into you, like it's yes. Like if you feel that, you know that. And again, like don't you want to be, even if you're just fooling around, don't you want it to be mutual? Don't you want to feel so into it and then be so into it too? So I feel like this person needs to really trust their gut, and all I feel like all the signs are in front of them,
Yeah,
and they need to.
exactly.
All it is about is just accepting it and being everything you just asked us. Do you think he's doing this? Do you think he's doing that? Can you believe he said? You're right. Like, yeah, I
Hmm.
think he's definitely doing his own thing. He's having fun. He's not worried about you, is what it's feeling like.
And
So,
I understand second guessing yourself for anxiety, sake. However, when we look at the list of kind of things presented here, I think
mhm,
for me the thing that stands out the most is like you do these consent check-ins. He tells you, I've jerked off today, I'm not feeling sexual, but then encourages the flirty energy even if he's not reciprocating.
mhm.
For me, that would just immediately kind of raise, alarm in my head to be like, well, why are you encouraging it? That you know what I mean? Like it feels like you
Yeah.
just want something out of it without giving anything.
Right.
Um, which listen, if that's what you're into and you want to be like worshiping someone,
Right.
if that's your thing, let that be the thing, but there has to be
Right.
kind of two consenting parties to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not about to get muscle worship out of me if, like
Right.
without being a knowing party to
Right.
this.
Right.
Um,
I would say also pay attention to the evolution of answers, because he began with, "Oh, I already jerked off today," and then it became like, "Oh, I'm good at something else," and then didn't the last one,
the
wasn't it?
last one, I don't really flirt with my friends. You're too good of a friend to me. You
So
know what I
now things
mean?
are changing. The answer is changing. The level of like him being of consent is changing. So you have to remember that you can't still be going off of like asking him, saying, "Oh, you want to jerk off today?" Well, no, he's saying it's something else. There's a different answer. So he might
Yeah,
not be the one for him at this point
exactly. And
anymore.
and that's
Yeah.
fine if things change like that. You know what I mean? But I do think
Hmm.
it's up to him to be more upfront about that. I don't think it's a reflection on you exactly.
Yeah.
And I would try not to internalize that, especially as someone with anxiety. It's really easy to internalize things like this and feel
Hmm.
like you're at fault. Um, it's like the onus is on him to be like, actually, as fun as it has been, I don't want to continue doing this flirty thing with us. Because at some point, I feel like if he had just come forward and was like, I really do value your friendship and I'm not seeing you sexually like that anymore. I think that's like as hard as it is to hear,
Yeah.
would have been a better way to come about it, because then it really is from a place of care
Yeah.
and less from a place of like, keep validating me and keep feeding my ego, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna flirt with you back. You know what I mean? Because that just feels shittier. But
Yeah.
I feel like that's a hard part. And I think moving forward, if this is like a relationship you want to salvage, I don't know if it necessarily it's worth salvaging.
Yeah.
But if this is someone you really want to try speaking to again, I think the first step is to try to address the situation. And
Yeah.
that's
And
a
maybe
tough conversation.
I was gonna say, and you're gonna have to improve that communication because if this is gonna be a friend, this will and might come up again. So why not establish a more like it's a more open dialogue where these conversations aren't so uncomfortable. Maybe work on getting the friendship to that point where you can kind of analyze it between the two of you. You might find a better resolution.
Yeah, I think 100% probably the flirty part of this relationship is 100% gone. And that's
Yeah.
okay. I
Yeah.
do think moving forward, like you need to, I mean, you haven't talked since this has happened. And I'm sure probably in his mind, he might think that you're mad at him for not being interested, which I think the way to open up this conversation is to be like, I feel lied to. I feel like I was, like you said here, you felt like you got downgraded into simp status. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
as like silly as the language around that kind of is, I
Mhm.
think that is a good way to start the conversation. It's not like, I'm not mad that you're not into me. I'm annoyed that I feel like I've been feeding into something for so long that wasn't the case. And I'm more so mad at myself for not seeing the signs. And I'm mad at you for not
Yeah.
being clear with me. And I want to be friends with you, but we need some clarity here,
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
you can't move forward anywhere without that clarity.
Yeah, they need to get a little bit deeper. The relationship seems a little surface level. They need to get a little bit deeper to get some of those answers, I think.
100%. Like we
Yeah.
know you flirt with your friends. We know you hook up with them. You were flirting with me just a couple months ago. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I feel like that's for him to just be like, "Oh, I don't flirt with my friends." Like you're just blatantly lying to me. So I feel like that lie for sure has to be addressed. But I would urge you, this is one of those times where like it would be very easy to escalate this into an argument. I want you to come at this from a place of care and love, and I want you to let's just use the I feel
Mhm.
statements. I feel like I
Mhm.
was lied to. I feel like I was just feeding your ego, but and not like you bitch.
Yeah,
It could be really
I
easy
know.
to
Come
start
come
off like
soft.
that. But yeah, come soft. Let's catch flies with honey, not
Come
vinegar. I
soft.
feel like that's kind of the way to go through
And
this.
when
Yes.
you if you bring him down to the conversation and you feel like that is something you want to analyze with this person, pay attention to the reactions to some of the things that you're suggesting are a problem for you. Because there's you can read people in that way too. Because he might reply one way, but might physically be showing you that he's not a good person or he's not for it. He might not care for it. Like look for those signs and surround yourself with people who just care about you and care about the way you feel about those type of things, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, like you talked about how you guys have been friends for 2 years and are like really close, and I feel like if he's open and receptive to this conversation, especially if you kind of come from that place of like I value our friendship and I want to like
Mhm.
move past this, if you see that he's being really receptive to that, that's a good place to start. You know what I mean? Then you're kind of in the clear. But if you try bringing it up and he's like, shirking it off and it's like, no, we're good, and and just tries to shake it off,
Mhm.
that might just be, like he doesn't want to put the effort in or doesn't want to talk it out or something and I feel like that would
Yeah.
be the time to assess like, oh, is this someone I really want to continue talking to?
Yeah. And that is why in the gay world, those are two subcategories that I do not play with or mix or mingle. You are either a friend or something else, but I never like you know what I mean? And I figure that out sooner than later because once you're one, you can't jump shit. Like,
I disagree. I
for me,
think
I'm like, no, no
I do
mixing.
understand people do have different, but I think if you're going to be one of those people that mixes those things, you have to
Yeah.
be really open and honest with each other, and you
Yeah.
have to realize that sometimes those things can change and you might start as one, you might end up as another, then you might go back to
Mm.
the one that you started as. But again, that is something that but if he's the one that feels that is changing, he needs to be really open with that about you.
Yeah.
and not just be like, oh, I don't hook up with my friends. And it's like, girl,
Right.
we know you hook up with your friends because what were we doing a couple months ago, you know? So
Right.
I again, I really, really want to drive this home because they mentioned up top how much anxiety they have. This is like not something to internalize and not bring into like
Oh, geez.
further relationships and stuff, you know?
Oh my gosh. Well, with that being said and remembered, take care of yourself and always give yourself what you need in these situations. With that being said, I honestly, I forgot about that. With that, but you need to care for yourself. And
100%.
yeah, so yeah, put yourself first, get those answers. If you can't get them, get out, find people who care about you and your
Yeah.
lifestyle.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I do think this is something that the two of you can probably move forward, especially if he does value your friendship. You know, if y'all are as close as I'm believing from what I'm reading, I definitely think this is something y'all can get through. It's just
Yeah.
it needs to be that kind of open conversation and be like, you know, what we had just wasn't working anymore, and I'm not
Yeah.
feeling that, or I found someone else and I'm feeling them a little more.
Yeah.
I just don't want to I don't want to flirt with y'all anymore, and that's okay. You know,
Yeah.
that's fine. But you got to be
Yes.
open about that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with our final segment of the show, Nasty Plot.
Are you tired of the same old true crime podcasts? Does it seem like horror podcasts are endless? Not sure which one to choose? Well, I've got you covered.
All right, can we stop? Hi, my name's Ralph, and I'll be your guide through what I like to call a variety show straight from hell. Welcome to the Scream Society. From true crime, crazy extremists, conspiracy theories, to the wildest buzzworthy topics, maybe some spine-tingling horror stories and supernatural phenomena to darken your day. I dissect it all and tell it like it is. The Scream Society. Dare to be a part of the show? Share your personal horror stories and paranormal experiences at beacons.ai/The Scream Society. Join the society and follow on Instagram and TikTok at Scream Society Podcast. The Scream Society. Available on all podcast platforms.
We're back from our break. During the break, we were talking about Pokemon really quickly. And Nigel, you want to share kind of with everyone else, you know, kind of your intro into Pokemon and how you got into it. Let's talk about that.
Yes, anywhere there's a slot open for Pokemon, I'll always jump in it. Special place in my heart, and I'm someone who's been playing from the beginning, blue version. I beat it as a child. Very like great accomplishment for me. I spent weeks in front of the grass of the Elite Four grinding my
Training.
Pokemon. Yes, training.
And
I'm
those
a,
early
like
games were hard as fuck. Let's
that's what I'm saying. We're talking no strategy. This is 1999, not to date myself, but 1999, no strategy guides, no nothing. So it's a special place in my heart. I collected the cards. I love playing the games, and as I got older, nostalgia has been a form of therapy for me. So returning to like the emulator version on like my iPhone and stuff like that, it has been a nice form of just relaxing. And I still play. I still jump in and play. But the funny part of the story, and some of my friends make fun of me for this, I am a 151 girl.
Oh
I do not,
no,
I'm a
not you being
150.
cancel only.
Yeah, so I live in this little nostalgia 90s bubble where Mew is like the only legendary I
I'm
know of. I don't want to go past that. I don't,
screaming.
yeah,
What about
so.
like gold and silver? Or would you do that? Because that's both, you know, if you play
So I
crystal.
I have gold and silver, and I played it. I think just as I've gotten old, like I got that's what was making me not like it anymore, was it was too much being thrown at me. So for me to keep it like in my heart where it started, I just realized like, you know what, like I'm good just playing the Game Boy Color Blue. Like I started not getting the new stuff, and I started just playing what I liked.
You
Not
know,
just not following the
I'm gonna
trends.
push the
Like,
envelope a little bit for you. I want you, and I can send this to you. I want you to
mhm.
try and play Crystal again because you know you start off in Hoenn. No, not Hoenn. You start off in Johto, and then
Mhm.
after you beat the Johto segment, you go back to Kanto, and you run through those gyms again. And it's fun
Oh.
because you know like Misty's a little older and Lieutenant Surge looks different. Like it's like a continuation. So
And then
you
in the grass, it's still the 151
yeah
in
yeah
those
yeah.
lands. See,
So
I would love that because that's my problem is I don't want to be running around. What killed it for me was running into the grass, a Pokemon popping out, and me not knowing what it was. That's what
okay.
I hated. You know what I mean? I
Johto has a
like
couple
like
new ones because you start off in in Johto. So there are like this new starters. There's like the
Okay.
Chikorita, the Totodile. There's like different
Yes.
starters and stuff. And there's some
Yeah.
new ones, but even then, a lot of the Pokemon are still from
I
Kanto.
that sounds from. I think I got pretty close to the end of that one too with Chikorita. Now that you said that,
Yeah.
Chikorita's just I've played that one before. It sounds familiar.
Because then when you get to when you beat that Elite Four in Johto, you go back to Kanto and you can play through all of those. And that for me is like,
maybe
that's
I didn't beat it because that doesn't sound familiar. So I probably got. I probably got.
I'll off air remind you. I'll hook you up with it because that.
Yeah, no, I
think
even
you would
talking about it, I
really
already want to
enjoy
play.
this. I think you would really enjoy it because even getting back to go to Kanto and seeing everyone with like a bigger team, a better team, like having Misty have all their stuff at like level 60, 70, like really harder to beat stuff. I think it'll be a good progression for you to be like, I'm going back to my childhood, but they're like stronger now and I can actually fight them.
Yes. Okay, cool. I'm excited.
Okay, we'll do that. We just had to touch on that because it just felt nice. This is Nasty Plot. This is the segment where we talk about pet peeves, things that have come up in our life, and we give unsolicited advice to the world, to culture, to people in our personal life that, didn't ask for it but need it. This month, I gotta talk about that damn psychic chipmunk. I gotta talk about that groundhog. I got to thinking. The groundhog, as we all well know, saw its shadow 6 more weeks of winter, and shortly after, Chicago starts getting pelted with snow.
Right.
I got curious. I said, now, how did this shit start? I went back. I looked up some stuff. This is from the Library of Congress, which, if we can even believe them, because I'm sure every government site is being changed every single day, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Groundhog Day comes from the kind of similar cycle of pre-Christian Celtic traditions that gave us Halloween and May Day. These are things that happen between a solstice and an equinox, right? So really important stuff in terms of like predicting next seasons and figuring out, all types of things. There's like some old story about Cullen and Emmer, who are like Celtic figures. But the important part here is basically that like old Europeans used to use badgers and bears to predict the weather around this time. And then when the German and like the Pennsylvania Dutch came over and tried to do the same thing in the colonies, they were like, this isn't working. We don't have any badgers. They couldn't find any badgers, so they started to use groundhogs. Now, evidently, this is where I take issue. These groundhogs, they're too scared. They're too fucking scared. They're constantly seeing their shadow, and them seeing their shadow is psychically influencing the weather machine into being colder. We need to tap into the collective consciousness. We need to all believe that it will be warm. And we need to drop the groundhogs. Find a bear. Find a badger. They are in America. They're in the Americas. We know they're here. Find us a bear and let the bear see the shadow. We need something a little more fearless to come out and give us some warmth. I'm tired of the winter. I'm tired of walking outside for a minute and I start sniffling. Even if I'm not sick, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of my bones being cold. I'm tired of slipping on ice.
Yes.
I'm exhausted. So we need to get rid of fucking Punxsutawney Phil, who lives in Gobbler's Knob. Might I remind you, Gobbler's Knob, Massachusetts. Which is a crazy name, Gobbler's Knob. That's like someone's OnlyFans, like this groundhog is an OnlyFans in Gobbler's Knob and comes out and sees its shadow and tells us it's gonna be cold. Enough of him. Find us a bear. Find us a bear. I'm going to Andersonville. I'm going to pick a bear, a random bear. You're going to tell me the weather. It's you. Yeah.
I don't know why they're giving groundhogs so much control. I thought that was a thing they did when I was a kid. I didn't know they still wait for the groundhog to come out. That's still a thing?
Yeah, they still do it.
Oh.
They still do it. That damn chipmunk.
That's crazy.
Yup. I'm over her. So get us a badger. Get us a badger. I think groundhogs are over. Groundhogs are out. Badgers are
Groundhogs are out. Please, let's get a bear who brings us the sunshine.
A bear or a honey badger, a sun bear. Like give us something like that.
Yes.
I'm tired. Enough of these groundhogs. I can't do it. And that's my big nasty plot. Nigel, what's your nasty plot today?
My nasty plot / biggest pet peeve right now at this current time, things you can't control and just giving yourself the patience and time and energy to process that. There's
Okay.
a lot happening in the world at this very time. There's always a lot happening in the world. And out of all those things, there's a lot that is just out of your control. Um, and it sucks. And it's something that you have to kind of like process and understand. And I would just say be gentle with yourself and give yourself the time that you need to process emotions and feelings and words and pictures and social media posts and everything that you see.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, be gentle with yourself.
It's a fucking lot.
Yeah,
It
that's my
is a
biggest.
lot.
I definitely I love control. I love to build the life that I want to live. Um, so, and I'm sure a lot of people are like that. So the idea that that could be taken away and it's something that you don't have a say in, it is very frustrating. So it's okay to be frustrated. I think is the whole point of that. So I would say that's my advice to myself for my nasty plot is to take the time, take the energy to figure things out before
Yeah.
speaking on it heavily, you know?
Yeah, give yourself grace. Take your time to
Grace of
process
that, yeah.
things, and then when you're well and ready, it's time to buckle up and get to doing the work. You know.
Yeah,
Yep.
whatever that may be.
Mhm.
But don't be frustrated that you don't have an immediate plan because no one does. So
Exactly.
just keep that in mind. We're all
Yeah.
kind of in the same boat. So
Mhm. Bouncing off that, there is one last tiny little nasty plot I wanted to touch on.
mm-hmm.
I literally before this recording was scrolling and I saw this. The Stonewall Monument, their national parks website, has changed the wording to exclude any instance of trans people. You can go on the website right now and check this out for yourself. Here's what it says. Before the 1960s, almost everything about living openly as a lesbian, gay, bisexual, and then in parentheses, LGB person was illegal. And so it kind of goes on. It doesn't say LGBT, it says LGB. If you start clicking around, you go to other things talking about like people in kind of like the gay liberation front and stuff like that. They take out any instance of someone being trans. They refer to them using other words now. It's just like sickening how the government is like really using these types of things to divide the community like this, rather than take us all out at once. Take out one letter, take out the T. You know, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's no secret that trans people are heavily under attack by this administration.
Mm-hmm.
um and these are like little things are happening, just changing wording on national park websites like this.
Yeah.
As for advice, I don't know specifically what we can do other than write into them, leave comments on socials, voicemails on the phone. I already did most of that. I emailed them, I left a voicemail. All their contact info is up on their website, which is www.nps.gov/STON. So for stone. You can go and check it all there. It's scary how they're trying to rewrite history like this. Like trans people, we would not have the rights afforded to us now, um, without the efforts of trans people and trans women specifically, and at that, trans women of color even more specifically.
Yes.
So it's important, like we said, it's important to process and take your time with this. And we are being inundated with information truly every single day meant to make us feel hopeless. And I think it's up to us as a community to band together, to not feel hopeless, to be loud, to be queer, to be proud. Whether that's sharing posts, speaking out, sharing it on a podcast, protesting, voting when midterms come around. And I hate to be like the Bagami protect queer art of it all, but yeah, like be queer, do queer art,
Yeah.
consume queer art, be loud about it. Even things like For the Love of DILFs, or going to queer events, supporting queer artists at this time. I think all that stuff is important. I think this is
Yeah.
such a good time not to cower back in fear and hopelessness, but to show out for our community, to be out and proud, because people have fought this fight before, and I think it's up to us to carry that torch and to continue to fight.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll always be on this side of queer art. That's always been my way of coping. That's always been my way of dealing. Since the show though, people have reached out about about me having my following and not discussing certain things. And I would say like that's where my DMs are open. Like if anyone has any advice before you put pressure on somebody who may have been on television or has any type of following, give advice. Like I don't that's what I mean. Like I don't know what to do right now. So if anyone has advice on what I can do or should be doing with my following, I'm open to that. But I literally don't know what to do, and that's part of the frustration right now is people think that I've like a hand in change, and if I do, then I'd love to use it, but I don't personally know how to how to help this. It's heartbreaking. It really, really, really is. And all I can do, like I said, is lean on that side of creating that art. And that's why the podcast pushed forward, even with everything that started in the beginning of January, I pushed forth with my content ideas. And it feels weird, but it also that feels right in the sense that like that's all I know. Like I know how to entertain, I know how to make you laugh, I know how to tell stories. So I'm gonna do that. But if there's something else that I'm missing, I'm open to suggestions personally.
Yeah, I think even
So
providing that escape is like that is such a good thing to do because people need those
yeah,
things. People need those
yeah,
escapes where they can tune in for an hour and just talk about love and hear about love
yeah,
or just hear just a funny story or something like that. I think that is
exactly.
also just as important as, coming out and doing the work.
I would hope so. I would
That
hope so.
being
And
said,
it's
I think you could also,
Mhm.
if you wanted to, there's like tons of like queer liberation things where you can, just share their posts, just like to get your followers aware of things. Like I'm sure
Yeah,
not a lot of people know about this Stonewall Monument stuff yet. Things like that, where like you see something come across your feed, and you like share it, boom.
yeah,
That's how I feel. I feel like that helps. It may not
yeah,
be as like active as like getting out and being in the streets, but it is a form of just like sharing the information. I think that's so
yeah,
powerful.
yeah. It's crazy because I remember I when I have done some posts, what the DMs and some of the complaints end up being is I'm not sharing everything. Like there might be something going on somewhere else where, oh, you shared about this, but you didn't share about that.
I was like,
So it
well,
gets
I didn't
very
know. You know what I mean? I can't share
it's
everything
like
because you're also not a news site. You
that
can't
part.
share
And
anything.
not only that, but like this is that whole part of this lifestyle where like I didn't sign up for that part. Like I do what I do and that's that. But you're not gonna sit here and come, tell me what I should be doing like with my energy. Like that will be up
Exactly.
to me in the same way that that's up to each and every person who has to also cope with this. But I'll always be open to suggestion. And yeah, I hope the things I can create do create comfort for people who soak it in because that's what it's for, and it's my pleasure. So
100%. With that, we have come to the end of the episode. Nigel, it's been so lovely talking to you. This has been a
always so much
joy.
fun. Yes, thank you
This
for
has been
having
so good.
me.
Thank you so much for being here. Before we leave, do you want to remind everyone again where they can catch your podcast, promote anything else that you have, and let them know where they can follow you?
Yes, of course. On Instagram, at Nigel Battle Official. And then my YouTube is just Nigel Battle. The podcast is streaming both video versions on my YouTube channel and audio and video versions on Spotify. And yeah, just gonna continue creating content, creating joy and happiness for people. I'm always excited for people to jump on the journey. It's been a long one, so we try to keep it fun. We try to keep it light, cute, sexy, all those things.
Amen.
And yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And the podcast, once again, is called He Loves Me Not. Go catch
Yes.
that on YouTube or Spotify. Go watch For the Love of Dill season 2 again if you haven't seen it already. It's
Yes.
fantastic.
Have you a binge session. I have them frequently.
Oh yeah, it's you can catch that on Out TV. I know a lot of people often ask me like, how can I watch the show? It's like on Out TV, whether you get that through Amazon, through Apple TV.
Mhm.
That's kind of like the main ways to do it. They do offer a
Yes.
7-day free trial if you want to pick that up and binge through the series and then binge through our recaps.
Uh-huh.
Like
And then you also have all the pilots on YouTube for free. So if you want to get into just the season premiere of them all, and you can do that too. So
yeah, and I think that's a good way to kind of get people in. I think the pilots usually do a good job of kind of like
yeah.
wanting you to get more.
Oh yeah, you'll get hooked for sure.
Yeah. I've been Jake. You can follow me at Krog Hunk for all my daily musings and things. You can also follow us at Poison Touch Pod. And if you are into the For Love of Dilfs, you can catch the recaps over at Baby Daddy's Pod. That's on Instagram. I'm no longer on Twitter because of Elon Musk is always doing some crazy shit, and I'm kind of done with that over there. And to be fair, Instagram's not that much better. I'm like, I know a lot of people are moving off of Meta because Mark is doing some crazy shit. But until something better comes along, that's where I'll be. I'll be on Instagram primarily. So yeah, we'll catch you all next time. And if you're liking the show, please give us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And you know, if you are watching the video version on YouTube or Patreon, give me a little like, subscribe, all that bullshit, and we'll catch y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye. Poison Touch is produced, edited, and hosted by me, Jake Munoz. If you like what you see, give us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. It really helps us get out to more people. I'll catch you on the flip.